With the outbreak of the Civil War came a rapid advancement of warfare. As America's industry progressed forward, so did its weapons advancement. The American Civil War was the beginning of a new kind of warfare, one that has evolved into the type of warfare we know today. In this video, we'll go over the technical changes that were required for warfare, the most famed and most commonly used weapons, ending with the more unusual weapons used in the Civil War. Due to the conception of interchangeable parts, guns began to be manufactured in mass quantities. Factories in Springfield, Massachusetts, and professional gun-making companies such as Colt were founded for the sole purpose of the production of guns. However, even with the major advancements in weapon making, there were a few problems that had to be dealt with. To begin with, most guns at the time had smooth surfaces on the inside of the barrel. Having smooth surfaces allowed bullets to bounce around the inside of a rifle, which caused inaccuracy. This, however, was solved by rifling. Rifling was a process in which the inside of a rifle barrel is engraved with spiral grooves, which causes the bullet inside to spiral. This then greatly increases the accuracy and muzzle velocity of a rifle. The second problem that had to be overcome was the bullets that were used. Before the Civil War, most rifles used small, spherical balls as bullets. These bullets were inaccurate since their ball shape did not allow for the spinning in the barrel of the rifle. This problem was solved by the Minet ball, which was a conical-shaped bullet that allowed for spin in the barrel of a rifle due to it being able to fit tightly. With rifling and the Minet ball, engagements at longer distances could be fought with better accuracy and deadliness. As a result of the new technological improvements of ammunition and rifling, new weapons with better ranges were created. The most common weapon that was used in the Civil War was the Springfield Model 1861. Manufactured in Springfield Armory in Massachusetts, the Springfield was one of the most consistent, reliable, and accurate rifles ever produced in the Civil War. Consequently, over 1.5 million Springfield rifles were produced throughout the Civil War. Due to their production location in the North, the Springfield was a favored weapon in the Union. With a maximum range of 500 yards, the Springfield was a very accurate rifle in the hands of an experienced marksman. However, training focused on a consistent rate of fire rather than accuracy. This led to inexperienced soldiers shooting over the heads of the enemy due to the Springfield's rainbow-like trajectory. The second most used rifle in the Civil War was the British Pattern Enfield 1853. Since the Confederates lacked factory and industry, they relied on the use of a variety of rifles, most of which came from other countries such as Britain. Highly sought after by Confederate officers, the Pattern Enfield was also a consistent and fairly accurate rifle, with a maximum range of 1,200 yards. As a result, the Pattern Enfield became a favored weapon of the Confederate Army. When the Pattern Enfield was on hand, Confederate soldiers turned towards the third most used weapon of the Civil War, the Lorenz rifle. Created and manufactured in Austria, the Lorenz rifle was known for its high quality and extremely accurate shots. That is, if the rifle was from the Vienna arsenal. See, the demand for the Lorenz rifle was so high that the Austrian government wasn't able to keep up, and ended up lending the design to several private contractors. Most of these private contractors, however, were ill-suited to properly manufacture the Lorenz rifle, resulting in poor quality rifles. Usually, these rifles were immediately thrown away when Enfields became available. The few good Lorenz rifles, however, were highly praised, and some Confederates even went as far as to state that the Lorenz rifle was better than the Pattern Enfield. With the top 3 most used rifles out of the way, we move on to the Whitworth rifle, which was quite famous in its own right. In fact, the Whitworth became the world's first sniper rifle when used with telescopic sights. Designed by Joseph Whitworth, the Whitworth rifle's sole purpose was to rival the then standard Enfield rifle. Joseph Whitworth planned to do this by going with a completely unique barrel and bullet design. Instead of using a cylinder-shaped barrel, the Whitworth was designed with a hexagonal-shaped barrel with hexagonal-shaped bullets. This special design allowed for a tighter-fitting bullet, thus increasing the rifle's accuracy and range. As a matter of fact, the Whitworth outperformed the Enfield 3-to-1 in test-fire demonstrations, with its range of 800 to 1,500 yards. However, due to its expensive price tag, the Enfield was chosen over the Whitworth. This didn't stop the Confederates from using the Whitworth, which was given to the Confederates' elite sharpshooter squads, thus creating the world's first sniper units. These sniper units were usually assigned to take out artillery crews and to take out any Union officer if they had the chance. Nonetheless, a lone marksman with a Whitworth rifle was devastating when left alone. A short anecdote that clearly makes my point is the story of General John Sedgwick. On May 9th of the Battle of Spotsylvania Courthouse, Union General John Sedgwick was directing the placement of artillery crews while under harassing fire from Whitworth snipers at 800 to 1,000 yards away. Seeing his crew members duck down in fear, General Sedgwick walked out into the open, yelling at the cowering men to finish their duty. "What? Men dodging this way for single bullets? What will you do when they open fire along the whole line? I am ashamed of you. They couldn't hit an elephant at this distance." Seconds after saying that phrase, General Sedgwick was fatally shot under the left cheek by a Whitworth sniper. What a cheeky kill, am I right? The most commonly used sidearm in the Civil War was the Colt Army Model 1860. The Colt Army was also the most widely used revolver in the Civil War. With a 6-shot revolving cylinder and a consistent range of 75 to 100 yards, the Colt Army model was issued to infantry, cavalry, artillery, and navy soldiers on both sides. Perhaps the most important innovation that came about in the Civil War was the Gatling gun, which was a hand-cranked machine gun that was comprised of multiple barrels rotating around a central axis. This design allowed for a massive improvement in rate of fire and enabled the Gatling gun a devastating rate of fire of 350 to 400 rounds per minute. Unfortunately, the smoke that was emitted from the Gatling gun would often leave its crews open to artillery and sniper fire. Invented by Richard Gatling, he believed that with the Gatling gun, he could reduce the need for infantry soldiers on the battlefield, thus decreasing the amount of soldiers dying. Ironically, his invention only caused more deaths on the battlefield as the Gatling gun was purchased and used by Union forces. Richard Gatling's design also became the forerunner of modern weapons such as the minigun and the M61 Vulcan. Not only was the Civil War the beginning of the Gatling gun line, it was also the beginning of the grenade. Believe it or not, Union forces in the Civil War employed the use of grenades, which were shaped kind of like throw darts. These throw dart-looking projectiles consisted of 3 parts: the nostril, casing, and tailpiece. The nostril contained the plunger, which activated the main charge, which was located in the casing. Finally, the tailpiece was used to stabilize the grenade while in flight. Unfortunately for the attacking Union forces at Port Hudson, the plunger was prone to malfunction, and the Confederate forces simply caught the grenades with blankets and threw them back down at the Union soldiers. Most rifles already came with attachments, with the most common attachments being ladder sights, leaf sights, and open sights, which are used to line up a target. Rare sights included the telescopic sights, which were relatively new and very expensive to use. Not to mention, telescopic sights were known to leave their users with black eyes due to the gun's recoil. The most common attachment in the Civil War was the bayonet, which is basically a knife with a ring at the end of it. This ring would then be attached to the barrel of a gun to make the gun a hybrid between spear, sword, and gun at the same time. With the bayonet came a whole new tactic known as the bayonet charge, which was used to chase off enemies who were reloading their weapons and to overrun the enemy.